Okay, so this one, you asked about finding the growth rate, I believe. So this one is question 12 on the exercises. It looks like you got that one wrong, so I thought this would be a good one to do. So this is the equation we're going to use. This is the exponential equation that we're going to use to solve these. This will be given to you on the formula sheet, so you don't have to memorize that, but you have to be able to recognize what it is and how to use it. So if we read this question, it says, suppose a fish population is currently 6,300 and 5 years later the population is 13,000. So it starts at 6,300 and 5 years later it's at 13,000. So the p sub 0 is the initial value. The p sub n is at the end of the time we're talking about. And our n is 5 for 5 years. So we're going to use this to try to find the rate of growth. So we're going to plug in what we know and then solve for what we don't know. So if we plug in what we know, p sub n is the 13,000. P sub 0 is 6,300. And then we have 1 plus r, and our n is 5. So the first thing we're going to do is divide both sides by 6,300, which gives you, let me get out my calculator real quick. So 13,000 divided by 6,300 gives us, so it says about 2.06. I'm just going to leave that value in my calculator and use that so I don't have to round. But if you write down more, just, then, so you don't want to round too much. So you can write down all the values your calculator shows if you want. But that is 1 plus r to the 5th. So we need to get rid of that exponent so we can solve for r. So we're going to do what we call the 5th root of that number. And I still have that value in my calculator, so I'm going to take that. So on your calculator, the 5th root, you can do, let's see, your calculator might have an exponent button or a root button. It might have something that looks like this, and I can put in the 5th root, or you can just raise what you have in there to the 1 over 5 power, and that'll give you the same thing as the 5th root. So you already have that in there. I'm just going to raise it to the 1 over 5 power, so put 1 divided by 5 in parentheses. And then what you get is like 1.1559, etc. So I used the value I already had and took the 5th root. So you need to figure out how to do that on your calculator. But once you do, then we have that is 1 plus r, so we just need to subtract 1. And you're going to get the 0.1559, etc. And then whatever it says to round to, the nearest tenth. So it asks for a percent, so that is 15.6%. If we round that to if we change that to a percent and round to the nearest tenth. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm also going to send you, I made another video for somebody about solving for the n, solving for time using logarithms. So I'll send that one to you too. I don't know if you had trouble with that. Let me know if you have more questions on this.